I wanted to thank everyone who was able to join us today for our first nutrition education and also say hello to those who are catching the replay. For those of you who do not know, I think all of you know me now. My name is Carol Plusiak, and I am by day a kindergarten teacher. And a few years ago, I went on my own nutrition journey and really found a love of learning about nutrition and how food works with our body and how we can use food to reach our goals while fueling our body. And so my coach encouraged me to pursue getting my own coaching certification, which I did. And then I never did anything with it. And I said, well, we can't learn by not doing something. And so I said, I see how this is something I can help my network with. And I really wanted to help people with that. So I'm going to share a little bit tonight, and really the first 25% of doing anything is signing up for it. So even saying you wanted to learn, that's like the first 25% of your journey towards your commitment. Another 25% is showing up, whether that's live or hopping on the replay. But the remaining 50% is taking what we're going to learn in these next 8 weeks and really doing the work and applying what you're learning. So I hope that makes sense. So first of all, what is nutrition? I actually couldn't answer this question myself. I said, I need to go find a definition. So nutrition, if we just go to the dictionary, it's the act or process of nourishing or being nourished, because food is fuel. So it's nourishing us. So whether it's an animal or plant taking something in, I just talked about plants with my kids at school. They're taking in sunlight, they're taking in water, photosynthesis. Ours is a little different. Food is necessary for our human nutrition. And nourishment really is that sense of the adequate nutrition for me as a runner during a race, but it's really what helps our body function. But the thing about nutrition, there is no one best diet, because you're going to hear one person saying, this is the way, that's the way. What worked for me might not work for you. What worked for my husband, Jacob, might not work for you. It depends on fitness level, your dietary preferences, your budget, how much time you have to devote to working things out in your nutrition, what your diet history was, because that impacts your metabolism, the way your body functions with food, and just your nutritional knowledge. And I'm so proud of you for being here, learning a little bit more about nutrition tonight. So I wanted to say that first things first, the goal is to keep it simple. I'm trying to make everything easily digestible, simple things, but you have to start where you are. You can't change what you don't see, and really awareness is more important than perfection. So the first step we really have to take is data. We need data on food tracking. It builds the foundation. We want to start where you are, because we can't change anything if you don't know where you are. Like if you think about going on a trip, say you went to visit a place and you're like, I want to find this restaurant. If you don't know where you are, thank goodness Google Map tells us now, you can't find the way to that destination, right? And in the old days, we had to pull out the maps and find out where we were. So it's a little bit easier now, but food tracking is so important, because think about how often you're in a rush when you eat. I know as a teacher, I'm shoveling food in my very short eating period. We're distracted when we eat. We're scrolling our phones, the TV's on, there's other things happening. A lot of times we're eating out of habit. And I know if you think about holidays, a lot of food that you eat at holidays is like, well, because we always have that. But I call them BLTs, every bite, lick, and taste counts. I think I learned that in Weight Watchers once upon a time. And research really does show this, that the choices you make are a little less important than paying attention to what you're eating. But I was actually just looking up another study today, because I was like, I know there are studies on tracking and how much it works. So I just found a study. It was out of Duke in 2019. It was a study on tracking without the diet. So people tracking their food, not following a diet. There were three groups that I think it was 105 participants, and those three groups over the course of 3 months, one group tracked their food, and they used a free tracker. So I think they used the MyFitnessPal free app. So one group tracked just food. One group did their food and their weight. So they were tracking their food, and then not the weight of the food, their weight. And then one group just tracked their weight. So they were tracking different things, and it was just trying to see what would happen with tracking. This is the cool part. All groups that tracked, whether it was their food, their weight, or their food and their weight, they all lost weight over 12 weeks. That's pretty amazing. And the food and weight group kept it off longer, partly because that awareness. And that's why tracking is so important, because it brings awareness to what we're eating. And I don't know about you, but it's like that personal accountability. because that awareness is so much more important than the perfection. And with integrity and awareness, it helps you keep the commitment to track your food because you want to be able to just say, this is what I ate. They are facts. There is no judgment. There is no such thing, despite what anyone will say, even what I might have said in the past. There is no such thing as a good or bad food. My goal for everyone between today's Zoom and the next time we are together, I want you to track your food 1 week without judgment. Just keep track of what you're eating to be aware. You don't have to change it. Write it down, take a picture. Don't make any changes to your choices. Just notice what you're eating. You can even notice how you're feeling. I went to grab that out of the cabinet because I was really stressed out about something. Like that was me. I noticed I was going to the teacher's room looking for a donut when I was stressed. My body was craving something. Record everything. There really is no such thing as good or bad food. I saw a reel recently, and it's this little kid, and the dad was saying, is that a fun food or um like not a nourishing food. It was like a fun food or a fuel, fun or fuel. And so it was just kind of like what's going to fuel me more versus what's fun. And we're not saying fun food is bad. We just want to be aware of what we're eating. My birthday's coming up and I probably will have some cake, even though I just had cake at another person's birthday. And then same thing with physical activity. You do not need to track this. You do not have to be physically active because being aware of your food will make a huge impact. But again, just bringing the awareness. And if you're able to, track your steps, because sometimes people are saying, oh, you want to do 10,000 steps in a week, in a day. That number came out of a study in Japan of like men who were 40, I think. It was like that was the goal, the best goal for those people was 10,000 steps. I don't know what's good for you. I know on a day that I'm home, I can barely get 3,000 steps because we have 700 square feet, if even. At school, my room is the furthest from everything. I get 10,000 steps without even trying. Like, do you strength train? Is your job physical? Those things all impact. Just sort of track what you're doing. If you take 2 classes, if you take 2 walks, write it down. I want you to just keep track of your food, keep track of your activity. All right, so there's a few tracking options. I just polled my friends on Facebook to see what else is out there. I've used MyFitnessPal for over 1,500 days now, and I don't want to lose my streak. They do have a free option that is awesome. There are other tracking apps like Lose It, Chronometer, a lot of people mention, MyNetDiary. I cannot vet any of these. I've heard about Lose It a lot, and a lot of friends I trust said Chronometer. But even just a paper food journal, having something you write down. I know back in the day when I did Weight Watchers, that writing it down in that little book, it's just, again, bringing that accountability, bringing that integrity to yourself. Like, hey, am I writing down what I'm eating? If I take a bite of it, even if it's that little Reese's candy in a bowl from somewhere, take it, because I learned this yesterday. Say you grab a few, Reese's and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to pop these in. Sometimes those little candies can add up. Like you can have 600 extra calories without thinking about it, and they don't really fill you up, right? But when you just grab them without a meal, like your pancreas produces extra insulin and that gets converted to calories. So that's why every bite, lick, and taste matters. And it doesn't matter to me how you track it. You could take pictures and text it to me. Like just keep track of your food for 1 week. And no matter which way you do it, it's going to be a win. Okay. And then with the different tracking apps, sometimes they might ask you to measure things. You might measure things in cups and ounces, whatever. This is one of my favorite ways to measure it, that you can just figure out your portions. Like if I'm in a restaurant and I see a piece of chicken on a plate, I'm like, is that about the size of my palm? Okay, that portion of protein, I'm just going to call it 1 chicken breast because that's about a portion. If there's 2 pieces that size, that's probably 2 portions. And maybe I'll save one for another meal. You want to have a good portion of vegetables about this big. If you don't eat vegetables, again, you're not changing this week. And carbs, whether that's rice or potatoes, about a cupped hand. And then fats like your butter, your cream, avocado, your thumb, it's your first knuckle. So like from here to here. That's what you want to do, that you could do when you just want to measure things and not have to worry about weighing while you're doing it. Okay. So like I said, step 1 in any journey is knowing where you are. The data is going to tell you. And the knowledge that we're going to gain in this next week, gathering data, is going to provide the foundation for everything I'm going to build on in the coming weeks, talking about nutrition. The biggest thing is integrity, that personal integrity. I'm not judging it. I don't want you to judge what you're writing. because you're just making a commitment, a promise to yourself that you're going to record what you're eating this week. And when we break that commitment to ourselves, it's like you're the friend who's not showing up for coffee, even though she said she would. You're the person who's not showing up for the Zoom or whatever she said she was going to do. You don't want to break the promise to yourself because then we break that trust with ourselves. We're just working on gaining data and awareness. That is the entire goal for this week. So looking ahead, I mapped out how these 8 weeks are going to go. We're going to be looking at hydration, which I should be drinking my water right now. I have not been good on that today. We're going to talk about why protein. If you've been around me for a bit, I've probably talked to you about protein goals, but protein is important. We're going to talk about that and the different macronutrients, which if you do not already know, they are protein, carbs, and fat. There's actually a fourth one we'll learn about too. And we're actually going to look at nutrition labels. That's one of my favorite things to do because once you understand a nutrition label, you can make a choice that's going to support your goals even better. Okay. So that was actually all I had for today because I really want to just focus on tracking. But I did also want to see if there's any questions. And if you don't want to come off mute while I'm recording with questions, I will cut it here to make sure that other people can get this and then you can ask your questions. Of course, I need to figure out how in the world to stop recording. There we go. Thank you for joining.